Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Vibes at Alma podcast. Here is your hostess, Ashley, with another episode, and I'm super excited for this one. We have Star seated here. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So, this is Marissa, who is a queen and a priestess of sound. I started my sound healing journey with her course that she doesn't offer anymore, but at the time it was about sound, and she talked about different things that were scientific that supported the fact that sound is so healing. And I'm just really excited to have her here with me at this podcast and for you guys to be able to see the knowledge that she has, the magic that she holds, and to potentially, open up a new world of how to connect deeper with sound. So if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure that you like and you subscribe in order for you to see any more of these videos, these podcast interviews, and anything else. But I'm super excited. Again, super excited. Share this with anybody that you feel like might be obsessed with sound healing so that way they can know more. And yeah, let's get into the podcast, y'all. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. Today, in this episode, we have Marissa Roer, a shamanic reiki practitioner, a past life regressionist, hypnotherapist, ceremonialist, intuitive healer, and spiritual guide. Marissa understands the importance of keeping our ancestors' ceremonial traditions alive to elevate our connection to the self, our communities, the earth, and the cosmos as a whole. She is devoted to being of service to Mother Earth and all of her inhabitants to usher in a brighter future for generations to come. And I'm just personally super excited because I've taken 3 of your mentorship / courses that you had, and like the portal to Sirius, where that meditation to connect with Sirius was amazing. Also the alchemy of sound and beyond the veil about the 9 dimensions. It was just all amazing content and courses. So I'm excited to have you here with me today.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. So these 3 things that I mentioned, I realized that you don't necessarily offer those courses anymore. So I know that you have a primordial priestess mentorship, that you have a starseed mystery school as a community base, and some other gatherings that you do. So I wanted to maybe give the mic over to you if you wanted to expand on what those services are that you have.
Beautiful. Yeah. So the main offering that I have right now is a one-on-one mentorship to just hold fellow priestesses rise into their service for humanity and reclaim their rights to ritual. And we all have our unique way of communing with ourselves, with the world around us, with our ancestors, with our ancestors. And that mentorship is really to hold and be the container to dive deeper into the great mystery and to plant those seeds of impactful change for the earth plane and develop a service to humanity to leave the mentorship with.
That's beautiful. I love how you say ancestors instead of ancestors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A little bit of like from the earth, from the cosmos. I mean, it's all stardust. We're on a floating orb in space. So, yeah,
Yeah. Floating around in space. We're a dot in the galaxy.
totally, totally.
Yes. So the question that I usually start out with is about like what sparked you to go down this path of spiritual healing and starseed knowledge?
Hmm. So, the whole concept of star seeds came to me very serendipitously. Um, I live in New York, and my partner and I, about in 2017, so a while ago, we went upstate New York, and there's this site. It's called Tenter, and it's for people who don't have any camping gear, like city dwellers like myself. I have camping gear now, but it's like it's you go and there's a tent pitched on someone's land, and it's kind of like, okay, let's just go to this place. It looks beautiful. So I booked this spot. We show up, of course, at like 11:11, like any spiritual story. Um, And these three women come and greet us, or two women come and greet us, and they're wearing lapis lazuli, and they like hop into our car, and they're like, "We're showing you to your campsite." And I like look over to Jason, my partner, and I'm like, "Who are they?" And they showed us to our campsite. Um, Jason, my partner, was wearing a contact crystal, which is these crystals that Bashar, if you're familiar with Bashar, he makes, and they're supposed to connect you to your star family and to assist in the channeling process. My partner has been into Bashar and had introduced me to Bashar, but like all things, like I really need to experience it viscerally, emotionally, like in my own experience before I like think anything is real. I mean, I think we are human and we do have a logical mind and we do need to experience things for them to be experienced and understood. So it was that he planted the seed of extraterrestrial contact, and they recognized his pendant, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we do CE5 gatherings here," and CE5 gatherings are um, gatherings to be in ceremony to communicate with extraterrestrials, interdimensionals. It's Stephen Greer's methodology. And we were like, "Wow, what are the odds? This is awesome." And because we just like landed on their land at 11:11, and like they're a little bit older, they're like, "But like let's get to know each other before we just like invite you into ceremony." Obviously I would do the same thing if it was my land and these two little kids come and from the city, like of course. And during the night, it was the next night, they were doing this CE5, and my partner and I were hearing all of these sounds at the campsite. We weren't a part of the ceremony, but we were hearing these sounds, and it was like, we're like, what are they doing over there? And we definitely like felt it. The next morning, the third woman came and it was, started talking, and but like very quickly got to the point and was like, Zazar wants to talk to you. And I was like, who's Zazar? And he's like, Zazar is a six-dimensional being that this woman channels.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, let's go. I was immediately down. And then sitting with this channeler and this being, Zazar, the feeling that I felt, like, I still don't have words for it. It was so visceral and so electric. And I began to see like the interconnectivity of my body, what I now know to be a soul matrix, and really had a lot of things confirmed through the channel. And in that moment, that's when I heard the term starseed through that channeling experience, and I was like, okay, like I'm gonna look into that. And since then, it kind of just unfurled, and they've become huge teachers for me and huge support. And yeah, just the path just unraveled since then.
Well, how beautiful that the weekend that you decided to stay there is the weekend that they were holding this gathering as well.
Absolutely,
Yeah, that's
kismet.
amazing. Mm-hmm. Because you have, I believe that you also have these gatherings in your community space, the Starseed Mystery School.
Yep, I do these gatherings virtually, and I also do them in person in New York City, which is super cool. And I do retreats. My next retreat is during Lionsgate in Mount Shasta, where we do a lot of this.
Yes, and that's such a
Yeah,
beautiful and powerful place.
absolutely.
It's amazing. So, for those people that are listening that may not be completely familiar with the term starseed, what would you have to say for them?
I would say a starseed is a being that has very evolved upper chakras and has an easier ability to communicate with the unseen or tap into spiritual practices, which all beings have. I think everyone's a starseed. I think we all come from the cosmos. I think what differentiates a starseed is starseeds remember
Mm.
their past incarnations, or they remember or are open to ancient mystery schools, any sort of divination or occult or spiritual teachings. Like they are very fascinated with it because it reminds them of the higher dimensions. So all in all, I believe everyone's a starseed. But the term and like the identity of a starseed is one, someone who's remembering past incarnations in other star systems, and two, who feel a very deep call to be in service to humanity and feel like it's their purpose to kind of hold humanity into the right direction, and also in turn just witness humanity as just receiving information to return to source.
Yeah, that's very, very beautiful. Because I also read there's this oracle. So you're one of the first people that I ran into that talked about star seeds, right? And then after that, all of a sudden the algorithm did its thing, and I'm like, oh, star seeds everywhere. But the oracle deck star seed also from Rebecca Campbell talked about different star seeds and different ideologies of different star systems and how you can connect with that. One of them being like Jesus, right? Jesus Christ being one of the Arcturians, I believe, is what he was related to, or in that oracle deck. Um, and he is someone that you would think of in the exact way that you described, watching humanity, shepherding humanity into higher consciousness, being able to help evolve. Um, so how can someone connect further with that star-seeded version of themselves if they want to look into that?
Look at the stars.
Ah, that's so cute.
Look at the stars. And I think what's really important with all spiritual practices is to let go of the I need to know, I need to figure it out, and just be in that frequency field of mystery and following the seeds when they're planted into your experience, and being in full faith and trust that the divine is orchestrating your experience for your remembrance and for your unfurling. I would also recommend, like, for anyone, whether you want to uncover your starseed lineage or just you're a human being trying to navigate the human experience, to meditate and to really, really deepen and to have a lot of discipline with your meditation practice. Because when you operate and when you drop into the field of heart-centered awareness, you begin to have this deep presence where you can, like, when you're in deep, deep presence, like, your field of remembrance and your field of going beyond what is seen is always kind of available to you, because everything is felt. Because when we operate from the heart, we're operating from our feeling senses rather than operating from our mind, from our thinking senses.
Yeah. Yes, I totally agree. Preach, girl. Um, Because sometimes I've encountered people like that too. Because I started all of this with doing like card readings at markets, and then I used to teach people one-on-one and cohorts as well in my community. And I've had people that are like, "Oh my God, I just want to know. I just want to know what this means. I just want to know everything that you know." And I'm just like, it came with time. Like it came with also studying with different. When I branched out from tarot and I studied other schools of thought, it's when I was able to enrich tarot when I went back to it, or when I meditated and be like with the different cards, with different images, is when you can really find within the meanings that are hidden between the symbolism. Um, so I totally agree with that. And I also had read in one of the Gnostic Gospels, which I'm getting kind of like off topic now, but that if you really like feed your inner soul, right? The closer you are inwards, the closer you are to actual source. And then it can radiate from you from there.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So with that, you also have been the first person that I stumbled upon that talked about light language and was able to do it in a very beautiful way. And what is that? What is light language, and how does that relate to connecting with yourself?
Beautiful. So light language is the language of the soul. Light language is a way of communicating past the linear logical left-sided mind. Music is light language. This ability to perceive and transmit. So our right, I'm gonna get a little nerdy. So our
Go
right
for it.
brain, our right brain, our feminine side of the brain, is creative, and it's our connection to spirit. So when we communicate through creativity, we're communicating our spirit through our creative expression. And obviously, because like everything is creative life source energy. So when we're operating there, it's a very fluid transmission from source. The left brain, the masculine side of the brain, which our logic and where our language resides, this is how we communicate when we're speaking in language. I am filtering through my brain and processing through my brain a message that is a frequency that wants to be communicated through language. So it has to go through this filtration process. So what happens with light language is you eliminate that filtration through the left brain of communicating through language, and you allow spirit and source to communicate more through the realms of like music and tones and like chanting. There's a reason why in every lineage of prayer, singing together and song is such a potent pillar of the practice because it creates a vibrational field between this dimension and a higher dimension, or source, or God, or spirit, whatever it may be for you. So, light language is that individual, authentic expression of connecting to the divine. And through my practice, what I call a little bit of light language is it can come through and activate as a good way to look at it is like trance channeling. So when you get into an elevated state of consciousness, when your theta brainwaves are operating a little bit more prominently and you're more in the lucid state in between dreaming and awake, you can start, your left brain already is goodbye. And you can start just allowing the tones and the ohms and the seas of source consciousness to move through your voice. And then more and more as you refine that expression, it will become a dialect that you will, that will feel like your home base frequency and your dialect. And then the more you play and the more you open yourself up to channel, the more dialects you can open and the more you can be a transmitter of frequencies from the interdimensional realms.
That was beautiful. I love it when people bring science into it. I love it so much. Which is also part of your course for like the power of sound. Like you talk about cymatics and you show the different experiments and stuff on there. So I love it. Get nerdy. We're here for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we all, whether we're science nerds or not, like we all crave a little bit of like, wait, but what is actually happening here? Like, I feel it, I know it, and like I want to know it more so I can feel it more, you know? We need both.
Yes, always, always. We have the right side and the left side.
Yep.
But I love the way that you explain the light language and how with the left side of the brain, the logic is trying to filter that frequency and that message coming through so we can speak about it. But if you let go of that filter, barrier, veil, and just make that noise, you're able to just go really deep into it. Which is why like sometimes when I've listened to like your light languages whenever you post them, or somebody else also that I follow, Activations by JJ, like whenever I hear both of you guys, it's only you guys that I feel this with. Like I feel that peace. Like I don't know what you're singing, I don't know what you're saying, but I feel peace, right? Like I feel that transmission. So I just really love that with sound. And you also have a lot of, what's it called, training, like with sound. Come with like a singing background and everything.
Yes, I do. Yes. Yeah, I've been singing and creating music since I've been 12. Music. I'm a Pisces moon. Music
Oh,
is just the way I am. um, so, and being a classically trained singer, like everything started to click for me from my training when I started working with acoustics, because I started to understand the internal mechanisms of the vocal chamber and how to modulate and work with sound inside when I started to do it outside with acoustics in monasteries and in churches, and like working with bending with sound and space.
Wow.
That opened up such a an understanding for me of how to work with the chambers within and without to allow sound to resonate and move in a certain type of way.
That sounds so powerful.
It was very cool. I found myself in a 14th century monastery in Sicily, going to a friend of a friend's wedding. I was like a plus one. And I was just on the floor of this monastery for, like, kid you not, 12 hours straight just singing. And it was like, I was like, all of a sudden, these, like, all of the singing lessons I ever had make sense, that, like, lying on the floor here. And it was so profound. Like, I had spirits singing with me and, like, echo, like, it was wild. It was wild.
Oh, that sounds so nice. That reminds me, for whatever reason, like it just sent me to like a pyramid. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
Acoustic architecture is a rabbit hole. It's so fun. Yeah, I mean, anytime I walk, into a space and there's acoustics, I'm singing and I'm playing with the mechanisms. Like I'm actually left brain dominant, which is absolutely wild to me. So my brain also just loves to figure things out in a
mm.
scientific way through my play. I'm a 3-5 in human design, so I learn by doing. That's like the scientist archetype, is like, or like the fool, like trying and failing, trying and succeeding. So that's kind of how I operate. I'm like, ooh, how do I do this and this? And, see what happens when I fuse these two things together. Ooh, that doesn't work. Ooh, that works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the best way to become an expert, really. Not really reading about it, but experimenting.
Yeah.
Expert.
Ah, I see what you did there.
Well, I asked you what light language was, but how did that stumble upon your path initially and you start doing it for yourself and others?
It came through the same women that introduced me to CE5 and channeling. Um, then from there, I started singing and sharing my voice in those ceremonies, and someone was like, "You need to check out Tom Kenyon." And then I went down and experienced Tom Kenyon on YouTube. It's just Tom Kenyon YouTube.
I
Find
have
the vocals, yeah, perfect.
I have it.
Um, and once I started listening to that and like feeling how he was just using tones and almost in a way of working with subtle dissonance to get the consciousness into the in between. There's a way to work with dissonance in sound to like to because in cymatics, when a sound is in a dissonance, the particles are not in geometry. So you need dissonance for the particles in space to find resonance. It's like the left brain and the right brain. We need dissonance and we need resonance. Um, and once I was hearing his way, he wouldn't even call it light language, I don't think. Or maybe he would. I'm not going to put words in his mouth. It's not what you would perceive as typical light language.
Mhm.
And once I heard him and the way that he worked with sound, I was like, wow, there is a way of channeling just through like oohs and ahs and just very, very simple that can get you to an altered state of consciousness. And then I started working with tones and dialects, and it started to develop. But I really find that some of the most shifting is the most simple.
So I'm stuck on needing resonance or needing dissonance to find resonance.
Yep,
Can I ask you to go deeper with that?
absolutely.
Okay.
There are
Oh,
times in music that there, in any classical music, look at Beethoven, anything, they utilize suspension and dissonance to get your emotions and your vibratory fields in a place of unknown or uncomfort. And then once you hold that and experience that and find home base, it opens you up further.
Okay.
If you like listen to it subtly. And then through cymatics, which is kind of what I was referencing,
Mhm.
which is what I was referencing. So if you place sand on a speaker, if you play specific tones, sacred geometry forms. And this is what's happening on a molecular level when that frequency is amplified into a space with water, our body, the earth. And when a pitch is changing and going from, say, C to D, the particles that are in sacred geometry from C have to move and it dissipate in the dissonance to find the new structure in harmony and in symmetry that is D, the next note. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. To me, it makes
So,
sense.
and you can, I do it a lot in my light language. Like I'll slide between notes and I'll like, or like, I don't know, you get it. And it's like that anticipation and suspension up to the note that like can open you up and bring you on a journey.
Yeah. Like what comes to mind to me too is like whenever you're listening to maybe like a minor chord or like a sadder chord, even though that's still harmonious in a way, but then eventually you go to like that release of that harmony with the major chord, and it's like and it's just like you were saying, you're like, oh my god, yay, now I'm happy because it's a major chord. Like that's what I'm thinking. But I like the whole they have to dissipate between the C and the D to then become that new note. Wow, that's insane. I'm obsessed with Egypt, right? Also, I'm obsessed with a lot of things. And it's just beautiful to see how sound was such an integral part to their culture and how much they have figured out that science backs up, but then not enough people know about the science behind it, which we've talked about cymatics and we've said cymatics a couple times. So would you mind explaining what cymatics are in case someone's listening to this that does not know what it means?
Of course. So cymatics is the study of resonance and shape. So bridging the invisible, quote unquote, music is an invisible thing. We can't see it, into the visible through shape and through imagery and through sound. So we can have a better understanding of what is happening molecularly and just scientifically through the power of resonance and vibration, which is unseen to
Yeah.
to the human eye.
Yeah. Yes, yes. Like what's it called? Like sacred geometry you mentioned earlier a little bit ago, how with the resonance that it's felt with the sand, right? And sometimes even with the waters that you mentioned in our bodies or the earth, when you play a specific frequency, that does create sacred geometry. So sometimes when you look at sacred geometry, you are looking at that visual representation of the frequency, of the vibration of that sound. That by looking at it is one aspect of healing with it. By making the sound that it's supposed to reproduce, that's a whole different aspect of healing with it in your body. Um, so that brings us to frequency and vibration with sound. So how does frequency and vibration kind of play a part in all of this?
Um, Great. I'm being tested on my retention of definitions right now. I'm loving this. This is great for my brain. Um, so vibration, so frequency is the rate of vibration. So vibrations change. A frequency is a sustained vibration. So it's okay. That makes sense. So Yeah, everything is vibration, everything is changing, but when we talk about a frequency is a specific vibrational length.
Yeah, like it's always
Higher vibrations are really short wavelengths, lower are longer.
yes.
This is a visual thing.
Watch the YouTube video, y'all. Watch the YouTube video. She's doing things with
Yeah.
it.
Doing things with my hands. I'm Italian, I speak with my hands. So yeah, that's the best way I could describe the difference. But and what gets interesting is when we then look at resonance, because everything's vibration, everything's frequency, but resonance is very subjective to the perceiver. And the
Ooh,
whole aspect of the spiritual practice is to really fine tune your ability to find resonance, whether it's finding like what feels good in your body, who feels resonant for you, and then also in turn being so honed into the vibrational field of reality to see when something is not in dissonance and to be that active alchemist and bring resonance to that dissonance. And that's level 2.
that's level 2. We're getting there slowly.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
that can be tough, especially for empaths when something of opposition or dissonance or something that feels heavy or will bog us down. That this is energetic alchemy mastery for empaths. Is how can you bear witness to that vibrational field and to that emotion that feels a little bit darker or heavier or sadder, maybe in grief, maybe in shame, whatever it may be, and be the resonant field of harmony. So both, being of service from a vibrational standpoint is how can you see someone in grief and not as an empath and not take on their experience, but see as an opportunity to be an alchemist in both of your experience, because that person came into your reality to show you and give you more insight in what grief looks like or what sadness looks like or whatever that vibrational field they're emanating is.
Yeah, that's amazing. And how sound and working with sound does have the ability for you to be able to work with that and explore with that to see how you can shift your own vibration. What I was gonna say earlier was like the frequency of red is gonna be always the frequency of red. It's never gonna change. But a vibration
Yeah,
of color is gonna go through that the whole spectrum.
great way to visualize it and articulate it.
Yes, okay, perfect. Oof, I'm excited. I'm asking all these questions that I didn't know that I needed the answer to.
Incredible. Keep going, sis.
Yes. So you mentioned how by being able to alchemize the feelings, you'll be able to do a service for yourself, a service for other people, and how empaths can suffer from this, right? What are some practices or some tools that you can share with someone that might resonate with what you're saying? Like, oh, I'm an empath. It's hard for me to be able to sit with people that are having difficult emotions because I take it on for myself. Like, how can they work with sound, with frequency, with vibration to be able to, I guess, alchemize?
That's a great question. I think for empaths, it's important to know that you're empathic, but know who to give your empathy to.
Oh my God, preach.
And compassion is a way of utilizing the field of empathy in a way that is not subjecting you or putting you in a space of losing sovereignty.
Mm.
To quote my dad, he is a very, very empathic man and he's a doctor. And I asked him, I was like, how do you do it? How do you see people who are suffering and also have to like deliver their family news? And how do you do that every day? And how do you balance the empathy of it all? It's making me emotional. And he goes, I only give empathy to my family and I give compassion to all. And
Wow.
there it just everything made so much more sense because it is the empaths that are shifting the way we are collectively viewing the world. But I think it can tip over to the other side of it being an identity, of it being seen as a superpower. And then if the ego gets involved with like, oh, I'm empathic, like I can feel everybody, like da 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 da, which is totally real, that's the moment where you shift of like, okay, I have this gift. This is to be of service. And it's not like, how can you use your gift to transmute, not to take on? Because it does no good to take on other people's emotions because it's theirs to transmute. We're not healing anyone. No one's healing anyone. We're just holding space for healing to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the empath, it's a whole nother conversation because there is a rise in empaths and there is not a lot of teachings of emotional mastery and sovereignty. And I think bringing in vibration is the more you meditate and the more you understand your soul-based frequency, the more anchored you in that, the less you're going to be swayed by the external world. The more you're going to be able to see someone in suffering and hold your center and actually lend a hand of help. Because we can only be of help and service if we're truly anchored in our power and our sovereignty. That's when we can lift people up. And that's all I'll say.
Yeah.
That's
That's
just my perspective.
It's a beautiful perspective. It's a perspective a lot of people need to hear because, yes, girl, like I totally agree with you that there are a lot of empaths, but what can make or break an empath is how well can they work with emotions and process emotions for themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And everything external is medicine for us integrating and healing our internal worlds.
Yes, yes. And I wanted to bring it back to the primordial priestess mentorship that you hold space for. If anybody wants to get deeper into their own medicine, into different tools that you can share with them so that way they can have it. And like, how did this come about, this primordial priestess mentorship that you're offering?
Mm. It's basically just an entire con- conglomerate or amalgamation of the spiritual tools that have assisted me so much on my journey, the archetypes that I work with daily, um, and making it fun, and also in weaving, it's very holistic. I am someone who likes to dabble in a lot of things, so I bring herbalism into it. I bring crystal therapy. I bring hypnotherapy. I bring past life remembrance into it. And each mentorship's very different because each person is different, and each person has a different way of communing with the unseen and with the self. But ultimately, the journey is the first we connect to the higher self, we connect to the ancestors, the earth ancestors, the bloodline, we connect to the dragons, we connect to elemental alchemy, and it's basically just a 12-week journey to be held accountable in you deepening into your ritual and rising as a priestess.
Beautiful, beautiful. So you mentioned, I'm like thinking about so many things. That meditation and being disciplined in meditation is really the most important thing. Has that been one of the key practices that you hold that have helped you just connect with yourself?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the first thing I do every morning and the last thing I do every night.
Mm.
And it's just I can't live without it. It's just a way that connects me to myself before every day, so I feel anchored in who I am. And then at the end of the day, it's just a way to let everything go, whatever had happened during the day, and just clear the slate before going into the astral. And then in the morning, it's like waking up and really being in that state of gratitude to be like, wow, I get to be me for another day. I get to be on earth for another day. I get to do what I'm going to do today. And just being in that gratitude every morning is just it's the biggest gift you can give to yourself. And even just starting with 5 minutes, like you don't even have to make it a whole thing of like going to your altar, lighting the incense, like just sit up in your bed 5 minutes every day, every night before you get on your phone, just unwind and plug into who you are.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. I totally agree with that. I have like a little rosary, and instead of praying the rosary, I print like a chant that I've learned to connect with the spirit of Mary and Miriam. And that on its own, just like it, it's so nice. Oh my God, it's so
Mm,
nice. Do that every morning, every night, and that just makes me feel a lot better. So totally
that's
agree.
your ritual.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. Finding
Beautiful.
your own ritual, which you can help people with through your primary priestess mentorship.
You're great. You're hired.
I got you. The other thing that I wanted to ask you, and this is just kind of like a personal question, just listening to you speak and just all the knowledge that you have. You've talked about on your platform astrology, you've talked about herbalism, ancestry, you talk about human design, and then you're also classically trained in singing. You do a lot of sound healing, light language, connection with the astral realms. Like, how do you discern what is for you versus what is it that you're going to offer to the community?
Mm, that's a great question. I ask. I ask the space, I ask the ritual, I ask the moment, I ask whatever it is that I want to share publicly if it's in the highest interest for the collective. And
Mm.
if it's in the highest interest to me and my sovereign and my ritual and my connection. Um, and usually I'll get a very clear yes or no. And it's just like, you know, letting go, just taking a moment to be like, is this in the highest interest? And usually that first yes or no is what I'll listen to.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. Well, we're coming towards the end of the interview. Is there anything that you would like to share with the listeners regarding connecting with sound and
Mm.
that light language, so that way they can be more sovereign in themselves?
Make weird sounds every day.
I love that.
Be as weird as you can in the shower and just cleanse yourself and make like if you want a pro tip, take a cold shower every day and see what codes come out of you. Just have fun with it.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. I'm probably gonna do that later today.
I Yesterday I was like some of my Russian ancestry came in. I'm like, what is that? I'm like, all right, kind of makes sense. It's cold. It's Russian. Makes sense.
They're here. They're like, we are summoned.
Yep.
So how can people find you and connect with you?
So I am star dot seated, seeded, on Instagram, and my website is starseated.com. And yeah, you can email me, you can message me on Instagram. I'm pretty easy to find. And yeah, I would love to hear from anyone who has any questions or would like to dive deeper with me.
Yes, and if you're watching the YouTube video, um, and you're in New York, right? Because you're having the
Hmm.
Lionsgate portal thing in New York, you're giving total lioness energy right now
I
with your
know.
jacket. Yeah.
And I got this because it made me feel like a lion cub. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, my Lionsgate is in Mount Shasta. And then, yeah, and which is from August 4th, the new moon, till August 9th. So it's 5 days and 5 nights of deep ceremonial work, of working with our soul sensory modalities, our telepathy, telekinesis, if you will, all of these higher aspects of consciousness and superpowers. And it's a way to communicate with interdimensionals. We'll be working with the portals of Mount Shasta. We'll be working with the Lionsgate portal. We'll be working with Syrian technology and connection, which is very ancient Egyptian. And yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of fun. And if you're into any of what was said, this retreat is for you.
Yes, yes. So definitely look at the show notes where I'll have the website. I'll have like the link with a lot of different other links that she has for her bio, the retreats, the gatherings, the mystery school, if you're interested in maybe connecting with her on a virtual setting, with a community, and the Instagram. And I also will have the Tom Kenyon YouTube page
Yes.
on the show notes as well, if anybody is curious about that. But yes, thank you so much for connecting with me today and
Oh,
just being here.
such a gift. Thank you for having me.
This was such a great episode. I'm so happy that you guys were able to see this and get to know more about Marissa. And definitely look at the show notes to connect with her on Instagram, to find her events, her workshops, to maybe even check out her community space for the Starseed Mystery School. And again, if you're here on YouTube, please make sure that you like and subscribe to the Vibes at Alma podcast channel. That way you can be on the lookout for new episodes, for shorts, for other videos as well that might just be about how to live, in a more spiritually connected way, or just any tips and tricks that I might be able to share here with you guys in this space. But thank you so much for being here with us, and until next time.